You're back for more, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can do the following. Alright, let's dive in. You're going to learn about flying animation. Next, we're going to talk about the perform feature. And lastly, this is where it would be also really valuable. You're going to learn about in-betweens in a little bit of depth. Create a drawing. And then I'm going to draw the bird that I want. And then separately on a flip book, I'm going to draw the wings. And then I'm going to combine them as a group. And then I'm going to animate that group together. So double tap here. Now I'm going to create a new flip book. Now the flip book, as you can see, it still shows you the drawing, because in case that is confusing, because the drawing itself is not hidden. If I deactivate that check, then it would hide it. Okay, now going back to that flip book, now I'm gonna draw the wings. So for the upper one, and if you're a bird fanatic, please forgive me, I'm going to hurt your eyes very soon. Now I'm gonna go to the second frame, and since I'm improvising the animation of the flop, I don't know how many flops the cycle consists of, and therefore I'll already make the extreme as my second frame, and then I would sandwich the in-betweens between them. And maybe I'll give it just a curve here. Keep it loose, keep it loose. So yeah, I might actually just shift that shoulder. Remember, if it's up, then down all the way here. Now I'm gonna go to the first frame, transform it up just a little bit. If I transform it even higher. Okay, like that. And then, okay. So, as I mentioned, to reiterate, since I don't know how many frames the cycle consists of, for instance, if you're making the walking cycle, the Zagreb walking cycle, then you would have to have kind of 9 frames of that walk that they have created for the Zagreb school, which is one of the classic orthodox animation. But since I am just improvising, and since the improvisation is actually reasonable, because there are so many types of birds, so many different flops, like the eagle would definitely flop differently than other birds. Like the duck is one of the funniest one, because if you look at the duck flopping, it looks like it's kind of late for work and it's trying to flop really quickly. Anyhow, so for that reason, I'm gonna have only 2 frames, the first and the last, and then I would start to sandwich in between. So click on the plus, and now this is the third element that I mentioned as far as the value of you watching this video. We are learning about in-depth information about in-betweens. So this is the frame before, right? This is where it was, and I'll just make it somewhat clean. Why is this important? Because what I want to do is to calculate the in-between almost mathematically, meaning the distance between these two, it would be somewhere here, and that's gonna be where the wings are. Now, it doesn't mean that I would just make it this way, because it's flopping downwards, and therefore this would be like that, and then this one here, and And then here is where that connection with the body would be. So if I were to consider this as two segments, then I would be thinking segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3. Click, 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 click. And that's the body of that bird, right? When I mentioned the two segments, this is how you break it down, right? The first posture is right, and the last one would be this way, almost like pieces of polygons or faces or cardboard if you must. Okay, so and that's done. Okay, I'll keep it loose. This is as good as I need it. And for now, this is the most fundamental part about the flopping. So you can almost feel that, hey, we're almost done, right? Look at that. Maybe I'll enlarge this just a tiny bit. Because it gets a little closer to the camera, right? And this one can be a little... Okay. Now let's do in-betweens. I'm gonna go and sandwich a new layer, go and activate the onion skin. Now for the onion skin, just to make it absolutely clear, this is my preference for onion skin, and I really recommend that you follow it this way. For the backwards, click and select red. For the forward, you select light blue, light-ish blue, like that. These are the traditional colors. Additionally, for this case, I want to just really focus on the before and after frames. Okay, so now, as I mentioned before, this is going to be a really deep dive into the in-betweens. So almost mathematically, right? This is the tip here, this is the tip. So now this is going to be right there. The curve here versus the curve here, I need to find just the one in between, and between this point and this point, I'm gonna pick the in between as well. So that's gonna be here. In traditional animation, one of the best values when you draw on paper, you have a memory of the mistakes. In digital formats, we don't get that. So the way to really enjoy and digest your animation is not to think about, I gotta hit the perfect stroke there. No, just train your hand until you really get the line that you really want, and it's gonna tell you which one is the best. Okay. Next, I have the back side of the wing. So this point here versus this point here. Even though it's really loose, we can still identify those points. And that's it. So on the way down, it's flopping with that curvature. Okay. So let's see. Doot, doot, doot. Perfect. Now I'm gonna sandwich a frame right there. It's gonna start here and then here. And then the degree between this and that is what I need to achieve, while keeping in mind that this is a flopping downwards, which means Then for this one, and this is gonna be a little longer since it has the longest feather, the leading feather. I'm gonna suggest to the Bird Society to call this side or that feather the leading feather, if they don't have a name for it. Then I have found them just a perfect name. Okay, and here is my segment there. Now, if you get to the point where you start to get confused with the bird, you can always either hide, which would be a bad idea, or you can just lower the opacity of that body. Double click, go back to the flipbook. All right. Now you can see it's a lot easier for me not to get confused. And I should not see the backside since the feathers are not transparent. And I'll erase this so I would get that slope feel. Then make this more dynamic. I'm not really gonna get into considering the bones structure and all that. This is not meant to be perfect anatomy, but rather beautiful and satisfying animation to end with. There. So remember here, you don't want it to be snapping on and off. You have to hit that middle point. Same way here, we're hitting the middle point. Okay, let's take off the onion skin. Okay. Now I can definitely add some like an additional kind of extreme of keyframe, making the wing to flop inwards. But those things should not be considered until we have the full animation. What I'm saying is that as they flop, sometimes the feathers would go in and feel like that. But I don't wanna add anything that I don't need to add for now. So let's make it flop. When it comes to the bird animation, it wouldn't feel correct if the movement was backwards. So I cannot just copy this cycle and say like, oh, it's done, let me just reverse this. So there has to be a way back. So I'm assuming we can be actually done when with only 9 frames. So I'm gonna go and copy this one, the first one, copy, go here and paste. So my goal now is to find the in-between between those two, but on the way up, right? So now this one is gonna have to be here and here, and then let's see what's gonna flop that way, and Okay. Let's see how that feels. I need to, I think, bend it from here, just to give the emphasis that the leading movement is coming from this segment here, instead of just from the middle. So maybe I'll just, yeah. And here is, I think, the key element. Not necessarily the middle, maybe, because technically the wing is gonna look like that anyway. Okay, now I want to do the same. So we have first 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the first on the way back. 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 2 more in order for the animation to look consistent. So as far as how many frames forward and backwards. So this is all the way down now. This is the middle. Now let me sandwich a new frame right here. And this is where it becomes more straightforward. If the line is here, the line is here, then the line that I want is somewhere here. Then this line here for the back side and this line here. So I would average those two. The end was here, the end is here, so I'll just take it this way. And then one more time. The average of this and that should give me something like this. Okay, now going to this one. It's quite messy, perfectly fine. If it's bothering you or if it's confusing you, like in my case here, I kind of hate it. And I'm OCD, so, you know, keep that in mind. Like, me being able to embrace the looseness is a task by itself. So the way I would clean up a drawing, instead of erasing and fixing, sometimes it would take you a long time and it would not look good. So I would go into the layers, I would create a new layer, and then drop down the opacity. And then on that new layer, I would just redraw, just so it wouldn't look as messy. And then delete that, and that's how it is. So that is frame 7. I'm gonna add a frame afterwards, and now for the final frame. The motion right there, so it has to be somewhere in between, while keeping in mind that the arc of the wing should be like that. So maybe it's almost like this, with kind of a broken kink, and then the part here, and it's kind of an average of this and that, therefore it would be something like this. And since I don't have a transparent wing, it should be like this. Okay, and so as you can see, while it's really loose, my main focus is what is capturing the movement, and then I can worry about the drawing quality or the line art quality later. Now I'm gonna go to the drawing and then bump up the opacity. and go back to the flipbook. And let's see what it looks like. Good. Oh, not bad. As you can see, the wings are a little small. I can easily just really scale this the flipbook up aside from the bird. If it's easier for me to do the changes, I can simply instead scale the bird down. So now I can scale down the bird. I just need to push it forward just a little bit. Okay, I think that's good enough. Perfect. Okay, so now my goal is to first identify where the loop ends. Click and hold, split content. Click and hold, delete. Now what I have is a cycle of that flop. What I want to do is to duplicate that. Duplicate. What I'm doing right now is to make a long sequence. This way, when I go to the perform and animate it, I would have as much leverage and time as I want. So what I want to do now is to duplicate both of them instead of one. Click and hold, duplicate, move, over there. And then I would also select these, all these duplicates. Look at that beautiful view of colors. Makes it really easy to select them from a zoomed out version. Great job, Procreate team. Right, Dreams team, the dream team. Okay, so now I have a long sequence of that animation. Okay, how is that useful for me? It is useful because now when I go and select all of these things together, click and hold, group. So now it's one group. Now what I want to do is click on perform, and this is where you start to calibrate and train yourself to really absorb that beautiful combination that you have of these two things, the bird body and the wings. Okay, so now before I do the perform, I went back to compose and I set it here at the beginning. And now what I can do is click perform and then move it up. So let's see how that looks. It's hysterical, amazing. So now it's just a matter of, you're trying a new toy or something like that, right? Go to the compose and then perform. Now I'm gonna go to the settings actually and go into the project, go into 12 frames per second. So now it's playing slower. I give myself more time to make less mistakes with the flopping timing. Okay, now let's try that. Okay, I feel good about this. All right, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed and learned something today. Thank you.